Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining this session. We are talking about tefillah, but just before I will begin presenting the material, which is unbelievable. I mean, I just have so much to say. I prepared so much, really, with all my heart. But I would like to thank very much Nitza Heyman, our distinguished member, for sponsoring tonight's lecture presentation that I'm giving in memory of husband and John Heyman. They've been members of our shul for many, many, many years. I lost count. And John passed away 3 years ago. His yahrzeit will be this coming Sunday on the 15th day of the month of Sivan. John was a very famous international personality, very much into the movies. He also tried to do some great, he did great things from Judaism into the movie. He and John and Nitza were very close friends of Eli and Marion Wiesel. And whenever there was a simcha, we always sat together, simcha with Eli Wiesel. I, for one, miss John very much because we used to have unbelievable conversations. He was a highly intelligent person, very much interested in Judaism, in every aspect of Judaism. And it is in his memory that today's presentation will be. May John's neshama, may his soul be right as close to God as possible, advising God how to do some nice movies, which should be honest movies, because John was a very honest person. Decent. I liked him very much because he was a decent person, and what a couple they were, really, John and Nitza. And for you, Nitza, and your son and your daughter, all we can wish you is good health, to remember John in his good years when he was well, active, and what a mensch he was. So tehen nafsho tzrura b'tzror ha'chaim, may his soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life, and we shall remember John for many, many, many years to come.
Amen.
Amen.
Now we are, and this is really again symbolic because I've been giving now lectures about prayer. And John was very much interested in prayer. John, I remember, used to sit, remember exactly where he sat. He spoke to me many times about prayers, the concept of prayers, the sincerity in prayers, interpretation of prayers, the music of the prayers. And so it really fits that tonight's lecture is about prayer. Now, I have a big library here in my house in the country. And I'm so glad because I have, of course, every possible book that has to do with prayer. And so there is a Rabbi Yeshayahu Tzvi Braver, who wrote and quoted all kinds of things, and I would like to start right away. He quotes Rabbi Elimelech from Lizhensk. Rabbi Elimelech from Lizhensk. Lizhensk is in Poland. Galicia. Galicia is down south. And I've been there on his grave a few times. I prayed, I poured my heart out, my heart for myself, for my wife, for my family, for my community. And Rabbi Elimelech Milizhensk wrote a book. And the name of the book is Noam Elimelech. And I recommend that you can buy a small version of it, very small, and have it under your cushion at all time. It is a sgula, as we call it. It connects us to God for having a better life, a healthier life. And Rabbi Elimelech of Lizhensk said, ירגיל את עצמו להתפלל בכל כוחו. One should make his mind to pray with his full of energy. Not quiet, not just mumble the words, but to do it with full energy, with full voice. Because as he said, and I quote, ובקול המעורר הכוונה. The voice awakens the sincerity of prayer. It awakens the kavanah, the concentration in the prayer. That the not only singing and not only being emotional, but to cling, to make sure that what one says at the prayer, should be connected with machshava, with thinking. Now, every prayer in Jewish prayer is called avodah, work. And amazing, listen to that. We are going a little bit into grammar, but I'll try to simplify it as much as I can. וישראל נקראו עבדים. The Jews were slave. Eved and avodah, same root. Ayin, bet, daled. Eved, avodah. And therefore, in order to express oneself in prayer, it should be bekol gadol, in full voice. Remember what I say. It's not that I'm interested because I am the chazan and I like to give the voice. It's not a showing thing. It is a prayer that comes from within and it's got to be loud. To shake the body, to concentrate the heart, and to listen in your own ear what you are singing or saying. Very important. And of course, the congregation by all means. So much to listen to it until one would get tired from the work. And work is prayer. So in other words, when one finishes prayer, one should be tired. Believe me, when I come home after davening, I get very, very tired. And I have lunch on Shabbat or Friday night, a little bit, I don't like to eat much, and right away I have to lie down to rest. Now there is another concept in prayer, and that's called, and usually the Sfaradim use it. If you would go to Spanish and Portuguese, they say it. It's called Azharot HaTfilah, warning about the prayer. The idea is that to pour out one's soul before God in full energy, to almost that the soul comes out of the body, and therefore one should choose a chazan who prays with kol ram, that he prays bekol ram, bekol gadol. I mentioned last week, ve'elokim ya'anenu bekol, the relationship in prayer, this singing of a so-called duet between the human being and God. The human being sings Hashem ya'anenu bekol. God answers with a full voice. And the idea of call, of voice, to awaken the kavanah, to awaken our concentration to God. But what is happening to that voice? Where is it going to? Well, the simple way is that it's going, of course, to Hashem, to God. But there was a Hasidic Rabbi, HaGaon HaTzadik, the great genius, righteous, HaKadosh, the Holy One, Rabbi Avraham Chaim Mizlachov. And listen what he says, it's amazing. It's worth trying to remember it. Hareini sholeach filati mikan le'eretz Israel. I am sending from here my prayer to the land of Israel. Me'eretz Israel liYerushalayim. Once the prayer gets to Eretz Israel, it should move to Yerushalayim, to Jerusalem. MiYerushalayim, once it gets to Yerushalayim, it's not enough yet. Lehar Abayit, it should go where the Holy Temple used to be, the Temple Mount. Then Mehar Abayit, from Temple Mount, listen to that, La Azara, to the inside of the temple. Meha Azara, La Ulam, to the big hall in the Beit HaMikdash. Meha Ulam, from the big hall, La Heichal, even to the holier part of Beit HaMikdash. Umeha Heichal lekodshei HaKodashim, it should go to the Holy of Holies. And we know that the high priest, the only time that he went to the Holy of Holies, Kodesh HaKodashim, was when? On Yom Kippur. And mikodshei HaKodashim, from the Holy of Holies, leheichal livnat sapir, where there is a special stones that is even holier. Where to? Lamakom shehitpalelu avotai, says the Gaon HaTzadik, Reb Avraham. He says it has to go to the spot where my forefather, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob prayed together with all the prayers of all the synagogues and shtiblach all over the world, of the entire Jewish people. But specifically, he says, it has to be with the children who know how to express concentration, the kavanah of the prayer. And he concludes, Ve'al kavanah zo ani mitpalel. And about this concentration of the prayer, this is what I'm praying. So our prayer that we stand in shul, or at home for that matter, especially during this time where the shuls are closed and we pray at home. And I must tell you that I take my time when I daven at home, and every time when I daven by myself, I discover something new about prayer. It's just absolutely amazing. And I am praying to God with a proper concentration. And the proper concentration should be expressed with a loud voice. Now, I saw in a book by Professor Daniel Sperber. He's a professor at Bar-Ilan University. He wrote 11 volumes of books about customs, Jewish customs. And he quotes the Shulchan Aruch, the code of Jewish law, and he says the following. Listen carefully. It's just absolutely amazing. Ukvar hifligu hakadmonim. The old rabbis from past generations, they were very angry. Bignut hameshorerim. They were angry with people who used to sing the prayer. Listen to that. Hamarichim umafridim. They prolong the davening without knowing what they are doing. And they separate one letter from the word to another one, and one word from another one, in other words. There are, according to what he meant, the chazanim or the choirs, you cannot break a word. and take a breath in between. If you do that, you do not fulfill your obligation prayer. If you, between each word, listen to that, if you, between each word, break it and you take a breath, that's no good. No good. And so the great rabbis were very, very upset about it when they heard those guys doing what they did. Now, let me quote to you something that Rav Avraham Yitzchak HaKohen Kook, the first chief rabbi of Eretz Israel. Listen to that. The prayer and the songs of the prayer, when it meets romemut hamachshava, it meets the highness of thinking. In other words, we are talking aesthetic, we are talking music, we are talking singing. When the singing of the prayer meets thinking, this is an unbelievable, very powerful meeting of two worlds. פגישה אדירה של שני עולמות. And we have to be very, very careful when we do that. We have to know when and what. And then Rav Kook says, when the beginning of reading about Kriyat Shema, the Shema Yisrael, we begin with the creation of the light. And every time the renewal of the creation of the world. This, again, is a very strong meeting, very powerful meeting of two worlds. The world of creativity, the spiritual one, and the singing one. In other words, singing brings spirituality. Honest singing gets us spiritually closer to God. And when they unite, they purify the heart of the person who prays to God. That person who walks in the land of Chaim, of life. Says Rav Kook, the most important part of the tefillah, listen to that, היא שפיכת הנפש לפני השם יתברך, pouring of the soul before God. I am now in the midst of reading a book by Rabbi Steinsaltz about the difference between nefesh and neshama. One day I will refer to it. I don't want to go it because I haven't finished reading the book. But says Rav Kook, therefore we have Tfilat Shmona Esrei. When we have the 18 blessings, actually it's 19, we have to pour our heart before God. And when the Chazan, the Shliach Tzibur, the messenger of the congregation, repeats it, it's got to be powerful because we want the world to change. We want the glory to change, to bring us to strength. And it will come, it will come from the complete will that makes the world one. But the oneness is a holy one, it's Kodesh. And life is one chapter of high singing to God. Where is the best place to express the Shir Chadash? This is only at the land of Israel, the song of Zion that is being redeemed forever and ever. These are the words of Rav Kook. And he continues talking about King Solomon, when he celebrated the conclusion of the building of Beit HaMikdash in the book of Kings. And he says, V'hitpalelu elecha, the Bible tells us, derech artzam asher natata la'avotam. They have to pray to you, God, through their land that you gave to their forefathers, which means Israel. Ha'ir asher bacharta, this city which you chose. Ve'habayit asher baniti lishmecha, and the house which I built for your sake, for your name. And so all the prayers are said from within. And he says that tefillah hi shira hayoter nisgava. Prayer by only saying it is very nice, but really it should be sung, and therefore, and that he reached nisgav shmo levado, that the name of God becomes more famous, more spread. I saw that the Jerusalem Talmud speaks about 10 words that express the idea of prayer. I won't go because one has to be really a Hebraist. Shav'a, tfilah, anacha, tza'aka, za'aka, na'aka, rina, pgiya, just ekra, kriya. And he quotes all kinds of psukim or verses, how it should be done. So it's very, very nice. Now I want to quote to you from Belze Hasidim. There is something, Belz was in Poland, and what do they say? Hem mitpalelim bilshon shira. The Belze Hasidim, the entire tefillah is with the language of song. I remember the previous Belze Rebbe who arrived in Israel. I was a little boy, and a cousin of my mother took me to him, and he blessed me. So I have a bracha from the Belze Rebbe, the old Belze Rebbe, from the Chazon Ish, from the Vishnitzer Rebbe, from the Satmer Rebbe, from the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Just thank God I was blessed by great rabbis, and the Bobov Rebbe, and every time when I'm into the prayer, each time I'm thinking of these great luminaries who blessed me. Now he says, Hashalah Kadosh, you know, as I mentioned before, we don't know the name of these famous rabbis. Most of them are known by the books which they wrote. Hashalah Kadosh, actually, I know his name was Horowitz, and he was a Levi. Usually people with the last name of Horowitz are Levim, but Shalah, Shin Lamed Hei, is Shnei Luchot Abrit. The two parts of the 10 Commandments which Moses brought. He broke the first one, then he got another one. And he said, it is the highlight of faith. Remember, prayer is faith. Otherwise, who wants to pray to God if one does not have faith? That faith has to grow. And he says, Tzadikim omrim shira le'atid lavo. They say a song, listen carefully to the language. They don't say, Em sharim shira. They don't sing a song. They say a song. In other words, the expression is extremely important. Le'atid lavo, for the future. Which means that the faith in God is inside their hearts. When they have to pray about something, they have to pray in a song. That if they do it that way, then God will answer them. והרי הוא להם כאילו כבר נתקיים אותו הדבר. It should be as if God already fulfilled our request to him. Imagine the power of song in prayer. The responsibility of a true shliach tzibur. And therefore he said, tzadikim omrim shira, they say a song, le'atid lavo, of what will be in the future. By the way, you know the second parasha in the book of Dvarim, the last book of the Torah, is Va'et Hanan, and I prayed. Tchina is bakasha. Tchina means pleading with God. Tchina, not eating tahini. Tchina is Tchina is something that we pray, we plead, we beg, we ask God. You know that Hebrew letters have gematria. It's numerology. Imagine Va'et Hanan, Vav Aleph, Taf, Chet, Nun, Nun. In Hebrew numerology is Shira, is a song. In other words, you cannot do a proper prayer without singing. And the idea is to sing it properly. And therefore, when Moshe, because this is attributed to Moshe, to Moses, that when Moshe wanted to plead with God, he said it through a song. So Va'et Hanan, when we'll be later in the summer, reading the parasha of Va'et Hanan in the last book of Moses, the second one, we'll remember that Va'et Hanan means I prayed, and it means song. Now, there is a siddur which I like using very much. It's called Tfilat Yosef. Those of you who are closer to me during a week, stand closer to me, or on Shabbat or Yom Tov, see that I have a siddur called Tfilat Yosef. Why Yosef? Because my name is Yosef, and I pray. I am a shliach tzibur. I'm a messenger of the congregation. We start at the beginning, Hodu LaHashem kir'u b'shmo. Praise, thank the Almighty, and read high his name. This psalm was sung on the day when the ark was brought to Jerusalem. So to say Hodu is extremely important. We say it during a week and on Shabbat. First Mizmor Shir Chanukat Habayit LeDavid, then Baruch She'amar, and then Hodu, the important Hodu. But those who pray in the Nusach Sfarad, in a Sephardic text, they begin because of its importance, as I said, because the ark was brought to the city of David, which is Jerusalem. They begin with the Hodu. They do it the opposite way. Now, how do you praise God? How do you thank God? So the Yavetz, Rabbi Yaakov Emdin Ben Tzvi. By the way, that great rabbi in Europe, Yaakov Ben Tzvi, his father was Tzvi, and he was called the Chacham Tzvi. He was an Ashkenazi rabbi, but he was the chief rabbi of the Sephardi community in Amsterdam. Hundreds of years later, my uncle was the chief rabbi of Holland, or the Netherlands. And the Yavetz was the son of the Chacham Tzvi. One day I will show you in Shul a book that he wrote. It's called She'elot u'Tshuvot, Responsa, on all kinds of matters including Tefillah. And the Yavetz, the son of the Chacham Tzvi, says, Kolot nigun hakelim, the sound of the playing the instruments, because at that time in Beit HaMikdash there was instruments, me'orerim umechinim hanefesh, they awaken and prepare the soul, umeyashrim ota litfilah, straighten it up for prayer and activity. And listen carefully, it just confirms what I said before. Ulehasaga sichlit, also the intelligence, reaching out the intelligence behind the prayer. Now, I don't say that we should look during the davening very much into the meaning of every word. We should know it before. We should study it, and it's called iyun tefillah. But what the Yavetz says is the singing and the sound of the musical instrument awaken and prepare the soul, straighten it up to activity, to action, and sechel, logic. And very much, for example, on Shabbat, Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat, a song for the day of Shabbat, that's what they used to sing in the Holy Temple in Yerushalayim. It's not just saying it. Beyom Shabbat, there is King David, Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat, it's a psalm. And Chazal, our forefathers, our sages, said, when we say it again at the end of the davening, le'atid lavo, for the future. In other words, we say it not only because it's Shabbat, but for the future. Because it will be le'olam shekulo Shabbat u'menucha. It should be a day of rest. Vehem yemei HaMashiach. And these are the days when we will all rest nicely, because the Mashiach, the Messiah, will come. This is, by the way, the words of the Radak, Rabbi David Kimchi. And there is a midrash called Shocher Tov. Adam Arishon Amar Mizmor Ze. Adam, the first human being, said this Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat. In other words, there must have been some prophecy in that man, that although he was born on Friday, on the 6th day, but he was appointed to be in charge of the whole world. And it's just amazing that he said it. So please, let's remember that. Now, when we repeat the Shmona Esrei, say, Klil Tiferet Berosho Natata Lo, you put something on his head. We praise God for doing it. And we say, Velo netato, you didn't give it legoyei haratzot, to the other nations. Velo inchalto malkeinu leovdei tesilim, you don't give it to those who worship idols. Vegam bimnuchato lo yishkenu areilim. And on his day of rest, should those who did not have Arilim, who are not Jewish and did not have a brit, they cannot participate. It's not for them. Well, they chose from us, they took Sunday. But let's not go into that. If you would watch me carefully when I daven, and I must tell you that's my own idea because I've never heard it from anybody. And I heard in my life great chazonim. Velo netato, velo inchalto, vegam imnuchato lo yishkenu arelim. We have 3 times lo, lamed aleph, no, N-O. That means that we have to be careful that the Shabbat is for the Jewish people. That was given as a gift from Hashem to the Jewish people. And the Chazan, when he sings that, says, one of the rabbis, he has to sing it velu bim'at arichut. It should be a little long. Not to rush. Lo shlishi, lo katzar, lo shlili. It should not be because we say lo, which is negative, not to do it short, to do it long, because we are expressing here something that we are different to all the other nations on earth. And very, very important to do that. So remember, it tells us, prolong it a little bit. Don't rush it. And that's extremely important. And you know, I am always worried because some people like to rush, but I do in between, and I think it works very nicely. Another discovery that I made, and if the rabbis would have thought about it, maybe somebody wrote, I did not find it. In Musaf, what do we have? Az misinai nitztavu alea. It was then that in Egypt they were commanded, but etzaveinu leakriv korban musaf Shabbat. God commanded us to have a sacrifice on Shabbat. Now everybody is saying, Chazonim, I heard it all the time. Az misinai nitztavu alea. Wrong. What do you mean, Az misinai? You know, Judaism is a conceptual religion. Everything has a meaning, everything has a message, and despite the fact that the religion and the prayer is so pretty, so beautiful, so important, so unusual, so sincere, you cannot say Az misinai. Therefore, then in Sinai, nitztavu alea, they were commanded. That's not the way to do it. It should be as, then, misinai nitztavu alea. It was in Sinai that they were commanded. Not as misinai, therefore, then in Sinai they were commanded. No, because we are leaving some meaning to the text. We certainly do not express the proper way that the composers of the text, our Rabbonim, thousands of years ago, did it. It's as misinai nitztavu alea. We just finished the holiday of Shavuot. As misinai nitztavu. It was in Sinai. It was in the Sinai that the Jewish people got the Torah. We know that. So therefore, as misinai nitztavu alea. And here is my chidush. The first one I said, as misinai nitztavu alea. That's my own interpretation, and I think it holds. And it happened in Sinai. On Shavuot, if we search for a certain tune that symbolizes Shavuot, not Pesach, and not Sukkot, and not Yom Kippur, something in Rosh Hashanah there is, but we will talk about it at another time. We have a poetry that the person who reads the Torah reads that and chants it. He chants it in a special melody. And it's called Akdamut, Akdomes. Akdamos milin beshara Yushusa avla shakilena harman ureshusa bevavete dai dai da da dai.
Chazan, sorry to interrupt, but most of the time when we say Akdumot, people are half asleep.
No, they are not asleep because they stand up, and they can. I don't know Jewish people who stand up when they sing. I don't know people who stand up for Akdomes and they are fast asleep. I don't know. I've seen Arabs doing it, but I have never seen Jewish people. Anyway, thank you for what you said, but not to worry. So what we say in Shabbos as Misinai nitztavu alea, I take the motifs from Akdomes because this is specific only for Shavuot. And he said, and I sing, as Misinai nitztavu alea, ותצווינו עד השם אלוקינו, להקים בה קורבן מוסף שבת כראוי. Always, you heard me saying it before, borrow the musical motif from somewhere else. If the text has some similarity from somewhere else with the text that we are about to chant, to sing, to say, to pray. And here is an example that I did it. I teach it to my students at YU with depth, and I will never permit them to be qualified unless they will sing the Az Misinai nitztavu alea in the melody of Akdomes. Now, another word is to sing to God, to shout, to scream. The psalm says, like a deer yearns to get to the water. One of the perushim, one of the explanations, the interpretation of the word ta'arog, yearning, is titzak, tzaka. Do it shouting. So that doesn't mean to say that God doesn't have good ears. God hears everything. And from whichever part of the world people daven at the same time. But the tzaka is an inner expression of from the human being. Now, kashir yushar al korbanecha. It has to be like a song that is sung when we perform the sacrifices. Says one of the sages, Lelo ta'ut, don't you dare making a mistake. Don't you dare. Sometimes they say that it's not a bad idea to sing it like we read the Torah. And as long as it's done loud. And when we say Kedusha, it's got to be loud. That is a psak, this is halacha, this is a commandment from the Ramah. Reb Moshe Isserlis. Reb Moshe Isserlis was the big Rov in Krakow, in Galicia, and he said, do it loud. By the way, there is a very famous cellist today by the name of Isserlis. I don't remember his first name. Exactly the same as Reb Moshe Isserlis. And I once went to a concert of his, went over behind stage, and I asked him, tell me, are you related somehow 300 years ago or more, 400 years ago to the Ramah? So he says, you mean Reb Moshe Isserlis? I said, yes. He says, yes. We, on my father's side, we have the tradition that we were related to each other. So I said to him, put your kippah on and let me bless you, which I did. He's one of the best cellists in the world. Now, ilu filu male shira kayam, our mouth should be full of songs like the water. As if our mouth is full of water, says one of the explainers. Now, there were a few songs in the Bible. I'm not going to go into details. Shirim or shirot, doesn't matter, at least 10 of them. Mizmor Shir LeYom HaShabbat, that I spoke before, which is Psalm 92, which we heard that it was Adam who already sang it. Then there was a song on the Red Sea that Moses did. Az Yashir Moshe, he will sing later when the Be'er, the well, came in the desert. Another song is Ha'azinu, that Moses sang before he died, at the end of the 5th book of the Torah. Then we have Yoshua. As Diber, Yoshua said that the sun should stop and not move. But the Mefarshim, the explainers, the great sages say he sang it. Then we have the song of Deborah, of which I composed some beautiful music, and I'm going to reissue it on a disc. Then we have the prayer of Hannah. She came to pray because she wanted to have a child. And she prayed it very quietly. Only Rak Sfatea Naot, says the Tanakh, the book of Samuel, only her lips are moving. Vekola lo yishamea, and her voice will not be heard. But I think it was heard, because if she was very upset and she wanted a child. King David sang to Hashem, Beyom hitzil oto Hashem mikaf kol oivav umikaf Shaul, when God saved him from his enemy and from King David. As we know, King David was very jealous. King Saul was very jealous at King David, and there was a war, and David was saved. Then we have Shir HaShirim, the Song of Song. And then we have the song, the last song, which will be when the Messiah will come and the Beit HaMikdash will be rebuilt. The Baal HaTurim is not concerned so much on the song of the human being. He wants that it should be Shir LeYom HaShabbat, that everybody should sing praising Shabbat. And the King Chizkiah wanted people to sing the prayer so that they should be accepting the yoke of the kingdom of God in the world. Now we have the tradition that all that there are 30 psalms that were sung with beautiful melody. There is a song of Hodaya, of thanksgiving, and then there is singing accompanied by an orchestra. You know that the temple had an orchestra. It must have been a beautiful orchestra. Unfortunately, we don't have, at that time there was no system of writing music. And so the system came only when father gave it to son and son gave it to son and so on and so forth. So it was very traditional until the idea of creating a system of writing music. There is an opinion, as another opinion, that the entire book of Psalms, not just 30 of them, was sung by the choir. By a choir. The Levites were the singers in the choir. Now we have Mizmor Shir, or Shir Mizmor, which is the same thing. Says the Ibn Ezra. Ibn Ezra was a great grammar expert. And when I have a problem looking for something, the first thing I look at the Ibn Ezra. He's my best friend. He was, I don't know, 600, 700, 800 years ago. He's still my friend because I love reading him. He says there is no difference between the word Mizmor from Zemer, song, and Shir Mizmor, the song of a Zemer. It's the same. Rav Samson Raphael Hirsch said, Shir or Shira it has to be always with text and a melody. Text and melody, not just singing without text. Singing a melody with text. He writes in Hebrew that it's very clever, actually, what Samson Raphael Hirsch in Frankfurt am Main said. Shir klali betzura melodit. It should be a melodic melody. You know, melodic melody means that the people should be able to sing along. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3. But it's got to be properly in a melodic way. A general song, but melodic, not just to mumble. That's not singing. I want, yes, we have a couple of minutes. I want to tell you something which hit me very much when I was doing the research for this lecture. So thank God that I have to give a lecture, because then I discover beautiful things. You know, when we say the song on the Red Sea, there is a special melody. We don't read it as we read the Torah properly, with the te'amim, with the cantillation, but there is, especially with the Sfaradim, but Ashkenazim also have something, and I'm going to show it to you. That the Sfaradim sing a special melody only in the pasuk, in the verse, which includes in it the name of God. Otherwise, they stay in the usual way of chanting it according to the te'amim, according to the cantillation. But when it is with Hashem's name, with God's name, then there is a special way. Now listen to that. Let me sing for you, just sing for you how the Sfaradim sings. Actually, what we sing, the Ashkenazim. Wait, I'll get to the Sfaradim in a minute. Ashir alad Hashem ki gaod gad, sus verochevo, rama vayam, da 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 da. You know, there is a place and no connection. Maybe somebody of you will think of a connection. Please let me know. Call me, send me an email. On Yom Kippur, at night, Shacharit, Musaf, Mincha, we sing, we have the vidui, we have the confession. We confess to Hashem. Da 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 Ashamnu, Bagadenu, Gazalnu, Dibarnu, Dofi. Ay da 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 da. Yom Kippur, and then when we passed, or when we sing the song on the Red Sea, da 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 da. There is so much similarity between the two, which is absolutely amazing, just amazing. Now, the Spanish and Portuguese, listen how they sing it. Az yashir Moshe ובני ישראל את השירה הזאת לדושם ויאמרו לאמור אשיר עוזי וזמרסיה ויהי לי לישועה זה לי ויענבהו אלוקי אביו הרוממנו. Some similarity between
it's not just sorry to interrupt, it's not just the Spanish Portuguese, it's also the Bukharians, the Syrians, the Moroccans.
Not exactly. I will come to that. Not exactly. Similar.
They sing it out loud every Shabbat. Zimra.
I know. But da 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 dee da 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 da. I tell you how they sing, and I'll come to it in a minute. Listen to that. There is some similarity, but not perfect. I'm going to chant to you something. Az yashir Moshe ובני ישראל את השירה הזאת לדושן ויאמרו לאמור השירה לדושן כי גאוגה סוס ורוכבו רמה וים. You know what it reminds me? It reminds me the story that I've been complaining about the Christians. They stole it from us. So they stole it from the Sfaradim, from the Bukharan. They stole, all their music is stolen from us. Now, in the Spanish and Portuguese, you know what I did? Listen carefully. When I say Kiddush on Friday night and or on Yom Tov, we say the words Zecher Litziat Mitzrayim, the remembrance of the Exodus from Egypt. So Zecher Litziat Mitzrayim, this is when they went to the Red Sea. Da, 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 da. So I sing, always in shul. If you'll come to shul when I daven. Zecher Litziat Mitzrayim. I take it, as I told you before, I take it from somewhere else, bring it into the Kiddush, because it's all the same thing. Remembering the Exodus from Egypt. Ta da 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 dee dee, ta da 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 da. So it's very nice. Here is another Sephardi melody. אז ישיר משה לבני ישראל את השירה הזאת לדושן ויאמרו לאמור da 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 da. Three notes, and it's a whole melody. Go into them, you will hear that. You will hear it. I would like to conclude now, but I would like to sing for you something. You know, every Monday and Thursday we have a virtual Shacharit davening. And usually I sing Ani Ma'amin. Ani Ma'amin, Ani Ma'amin, Ani Ma'amin. This morning, we started saying Tachanun when we pray to God to help us, to save us. Every possibility of need that we have and ask God to give us. So and we sing it also, we say it, we sing it at the end of Slichot on the first night of Slichot, and sometimes during the weeks between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Shomer Yisrael, guardian of the Jewish people. Shemor she'erit Yisrael. Guard the remnants, those who are left of the Israel, the Jewish people. Ve'al yovad Yisrael. May the Israel never disappear. Why? Ha'omrim Shema Yisrael. Because they say, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Only the Jews do it. So, I am going to go to my piano. I hope you'll be able to see me. I think we aimed that you should be. And I will accompany myself on the piano, my favorite piano. Can you see me?
Yes, yes.
Yes, you can hear the piano crystal clear.
Okay. Shomer, Shomer Yisrael, Shemor she'eris Yisrael. Shomer, Shomer Yisrael, Shemor she'eris Yisrael. Shomer, Shomer Yisrael, Shemor she'eris Yisrael. Ve'al yovad Yisrael, ha'omerim Shema Yisrael. Take it a little higher. I'd like you to sing it with me. I don't hear you now, but that's okay. Listen. Shomer, Shomer Yisrael, Shemor she'eris Yisrael. Shomer,
Shomer Yisrael.
Shemor she'eris Yisrael. Shomer, Shomer
Yisrael.
she'eris Yisrael. Ve'al yovad goyim, ha'omerim Shema Yisrael. Now let's sing it without words. Dai, 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 dai. Like it? Die, 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 yeah, bye, bye. Anyway, this melody I composed years ago, and I sing it, except that on Yom Tov or Shoshone, we don't say these words, or Yom Kippur, or Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot, or Shabbat, only during the weekday. Die, 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 da, da, die, da, die, 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 One day we'll get together. I'll sing it with you. I'll teach you again. But now you have it, and if you maybe you recorded it, so you have the melody. But I will try to sing it next Monday morning, and should be nice. Should be nice. Anyway, thank you very much. Thank you very much for attending. Thank you very, very much. I hope you derived some information about the issue
Yes.
of prayer, its importance, its cleverness, its meaning, its songs, and logic, obviously. Well, when I say that it has meaning, that means that it has logic. And I wish you, it's already Thursday evening, so Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you.
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you.
Shabbat
Thank
shalom.
you
Shabbat
so
Shalom.
much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Loved
Bye.
it. Loved it.
Thank you.
Thank
It
you.
was beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank
Beautiful.
you very much. Shekoyach.
As the British says, thank you very much indeed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Indeed.
Ciao.
Nachon.
Ciao. Thank you, Cantor Malovany.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very, very
Thank you, Shekoyach. Thank you very much.
Are the maggots still there?
We're still here. Hi, how are you?
Okay, I don't see you now, but it's okay.
You don't see us.
No, I see myself. I see Sheila now. Something. I don't know whose head it is.
Really?
Mine, maybe. Okay, okay.
We're here.
Whoever speaks pops up.
Shabbat Shalom and thank you.
Shalom.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
Thank
stay
you.
safe.
Are you doing okay, maggots?
Yes, we're doing great. And we look forward to you every week.
Oh, thank you so very, very much indeed.
Thank you.
All the best. Have a Shabbat Shalom. I hope, please God, when the whole trouble disappears, we'll get together.
Good
Absolutely.
idea. Wonderful.
Looking forward. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay.
Shalom. Kol tov lachem.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Shabbat
Bye-bye.
Shalom, Bessie. Shabbat Shalom.
Warren, I can
Yes,
hear
that's
you calling.
me. That's
Warren,
me.
how are you doing?
Baruch Hashem, fine.
Okay, you holding on?
Yes. Yes, I just wondered if I mind if I ask you a question. You
Sure.
talk about all these beautiful things about being the kavanah and the emphasis and say it correctly. But what happens when you daven and the bulletin says you have to finish at a certain time?
That's the problem.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned it and you didn't leave it to me to mention because it's a sore point. And,
I know
and
it.
sometimes I have a feeling that I don't pray to God, but I pray to the clock.
That's right.
But sometimes I like to finish at a certain time. We try to do the best we can.
Okay. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we leave it at that. That's fine.
All right. Have a good Shabbos, Yashi. Take care.
Okay, good Shabbos to you too.
Shabbos,
Regards to
Shabbos.
Sarah.
I will. She's right here.
Oh, good. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Okay, call two.
Both of them.
Kol Tuv.